again for joining. My name is Erica Levy. I am the Assistant Director of Recruitment at Bronx Community College. From the admissions office, I'm joined by my colleagues, Natalie Gil-Crotty and Anisha Scott. They'll be helping me out with some questions in the chat, so feel free to use the chat function throughout the presentation. You will remain muted during the presentation, but if you do have a question, just let us know in the chat. And we've gotten permission to interrupt our presenters if we need to, and we'll ask your question right away. I'm also joined here by several professors and students and alum from the education department here at BCC. So I'll definitely turn it over to them in just a minute. But just want to set your expectations for the day and also just provide a couple more housekeeping items. This presentation is going to be recorded. We won't, of course, record your faces or anything like that. It's just for purposes to send to students that missed the event today, and we'll be able to send them some information that the professors are sharing here today. There will be an open Q&A at the end, and then also just some information about next steps during the admissions process. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Dr. Powers and his colleagues, and he will be able to present to you about our offerings in the education program.
Thank you, Ms. Levy. We are going to be doing several things today, covering as many topics as we can in a short amount of time. Our basic plan overall is to try to give you as broad as possible an explanation of what a pathway to a teacher could be like. However, realistically, there are a lot of different paths in the education field, and they're not limited just to teachers in front of the classroom. All of you are in high school, I assume, all of our guests. So you guys see teachers most of the day, but there are also deans and assistant principals and principals. There are therapists and social workers and language specialists. There are bilingual instructors. There are instructors for students with special needs. There are therapists, physical therapists, occupational therapists, behavior therapists. So there are, I shall say, an awful lot of careers in education. And the nice part of a community college, as opposed to, or not in line with the senior college, is that we have the ability to prepare you kind of to go in several different directions, sometimes several different directions at the same time, as our presenters will kind of tell you a little bit about themselves and their careers and their studies, but also to find jobs in the field of education as you are moving towards that teacher degree. So there are 4 former students, BCC students, all graduates of BCC, along with Dr. Johnson and myself. Dr. Johnson and I both have a background in teaching and school administration, so we may get to that if that is a topic of interest. But much more interesting to me are the 4 former students, BCC graduates, Ms. Rosa Batista and Ms. Arlette Butcher, Mr. Elias Cruz, and Mr. Jose Martinez. And all of them will talk, I am not introducing them beyond their names, they will talk about themselves in just a little while. For the purposes of the presentation, for the students who are juniors and seniors in high school, you are looking at a graduation, maybe this June or next June. Potentially, if you did high school in 3.5, 4.5 years, you might be looking at a January graduation. But the path all the way to a teacher would be a 2-year degree if you attended a place like a BCC, or a 4-year degree if you go through a 4-year college, or 2 years with us and then 2 years at the senior college, and then a master's degree. And all of that can take us all the way to June 2027 or June 2028. So it's a long path to becoming a teacher in one sense, because you are required to have a master's degree. Yeah, you can start teaching with a bachelor's degree, but it is required that for full license and certification, you hold a master's. And that path is not always smooth, which I will totally allow our graduates to talk about if they wish to. We have a couple of options in education. One is a liberal arts transfer, and that liberal arts transfer means you take a whole bunch of classes in English and art, music, history, modern language, along with 4 basic education courses. And we have 2 tracks within that. One is to teach early childhood, one is to teach adolescent. So early childhood and childhood covers birth, which includes daycare, 3K for all, universal pre-K, kindergarten, and grade 1, and childhood, which covers up through grade 6, and then adolescent education is grade 7 to 12. And in adolescent education, it is different than early childhood education. Early childhood and childhood, you are responsible to teach everything. You are the English teacher, the history teacher. Depending on the school, you're the art teacher, the music teacher, the gym teacher, the guidance counselor. You are everything. And on the junior high and high school level, you are a specialist. You study and teach usually one subject, mathematics or history or English. So the different grade levels you have been at in your experience, you have met these teachers. Some of them seem like they just teach everything and know everything. And then other teachers only seem to know one thing. They just know math. They don't seem to know anything else. We have a brand new degree, which you guys would be eligible for, which we think is very, very good. And you will see why in a little while. There is the core set of classes that you take, 4 education classes. Education 10, which is early childhood. Education 12, which is urban education. Education 30, which is introduction to schools and societies for students with special needs. And then Education 40, which is field work. And then you would take an additional 4 education courses. So a total of 8 education classes out of your 20 or so undergraduate classes that you would take at Bronx Community College. And those classes involve early childhood literacy or arts education, learning disabilities, childcare 1 and 2, bilingual instruction, and mentoring. So all of those you would pick from those, you would pick 4, depending on what it is you want to be. So if you're interested in being a bilingual assistant teacher, you would take Ed 18 because that is bilingual education. And you would then become a translator in a classroom, presuming you got a job, to work with as a paraprofessional with a professional teacher. And you can do this while you are completing your bachelor's degree. You can do this as you are continuing your studies. There are also assistants in the Board of Education and in the private sector, health paraprofessionals for children who have issues such as limited mobility. They need a walker or a wheelchair. Children with a soft cranium, children who cannot take care of themselves physically for a variety of reasons, traumatic head injuries, certain neuromuscular diseases. There are crisis paraprofessionals. I'd best describe these as people who like to run, because these kids are going to run away from you. They are going to take off. They are going to be occasionally antisocial and or slightly violent. And then there is just the classroom paraprofessional teaching assistant. And in terms of salary, I get to do quite often, I present to students who are in the transition of entering Bronx Community College to the Cuny Language Immersion program or Cuny START programs. And how much money can you make? And I'm not looking at paraprofessional as a career, as though some people do that as a career because they want to work with children, but they don't want the responsibility of being a teacher. These are the salary ranges that are posted by the Department of Education. And as you can see, if you have an associate's degree, you get X amount of dollars. But if you have a bachelor's degree, it's $43,000 as of right now. And you guys would be hitting the paraprofessional area after, let's say another 2 years, just as a number, 2 or 3 years. So those numbers will be going up. Not huge, trust me. You're never going to get rich being a teacher. But you can make a fair living and you can feel really good about the job that you are doing. And sub-paraprofessionals make a large enough amount a day if you go in 1 or 2 days a week, which you can do with a college schedule. So my first guest that I would like to introduce is Miss Arlette Butcher. Arlette is a former student of BCC. And Miss Butcher, I would like to turn it over to you. And what each of the 4 graduates are going to be talking about is a little bit about their time at BCC, of course, but a little bit about their time, if they would, about their high school time, because you guys are at that stage, and what it has been like to transition from middle school to high school to college to career, where they are. So, Ms. Butcher, lead off.
Hi, Dr. Powers. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all. Rosa, I don't know how you got away this time. Your name was first on the PowerPoint, and now I'm first here.
I like surprises.
That clearly. So I am a former student, former graduate of BCC. I don't, when Dr. Powers sent the note to the PowerPoint and said that we needed to talk about our time when we were 14, between 14 and 18, I had a hard time because I barely remember it. I am 41 years old, so I got a really late start with my college career, and that was not deliberate. I was born on an island in the Caribbean called St. Lucia, the most beautiful island, if I should tell you. And so my high school time was over there, and it was amazing. I couldn't tell you that I have many complaints about our time growing up on island. 14 to 16, I was in what we call secondary school. And then 16 to 18, I attended what we call a community college, but it's with the British system. So it's a little different than the American system. At which point, at both intervals, at 16, I lost my dad, and at 18, I lost my mom. So I was orphaned by the age of 18. At which point, education was not a focus for me. Going back to school was not a focus. Going to university was not a focus because I really had to become an adult really quickly. So my survival instinct kicked in faster than it did for me to go back to school. Ultimately, I became pregnant with my first child at 25. I was already here in the US, but again, I was not in school. College was not an option. I got married. That didn't work. It was a really abusive marriage, and I came out of it. And it's so interesting that the year I started my divorce was the year I started at BCC. That process was a little traumatic because I came in thinking that I wanted to do something different, but BCC was intimidating. I had never been to school in the US. I didn't know what the school system was like. I didn't even know what it meant to calculate a GPA. So I had to learn all of these things. I came in, and through the support of programs like ASAP, which is the Accelerated Study for the Associates Program, through the support of my mentors and Dr. Powers being one of the main mentors that I had at BCC, I was able to graduate with a 4.0 GPA. So I really came to school and kicked butt. I knew that I was, too old to be playing games, but I was focused, laser focused. I knew what I wanted, and I came in and I got it done in 2 years. After BCC, I moved on to Lehman College, where I pursued my undergrad study in speech language pathology. Lehman College is a 4-year, but BCC is a 2-year. I think someone just shot a message in the chat. So Bronx Community College is a 2-year college. So I spent 2 years there, and then I went on to spending my other 2 years with Lehman College. I'm currently doing some graduate studies with SUNY, Albany, and that is in association with the school where I'm working at currently as a kindergarten teacher. It's a charter school called the Bronx Better Learning. I now, from one child, I have 2 children. One's a high school senior, the other is just started middle school. So it's been all of a challenge. None of it has been easy. I've had to juggle being in school, having a schedule, and also being a parent to 2 children. and really just managing my life the best that I could, but making sure that school was the priority at some point, because I knew that to be a little more successful and a little more comfortable, I needed to at least have a degree. So yeah, that's my story. Dr. Paz, am I missing out on anything?
No, we can get to the questions later, but that does cover everything, and I thank you. And do say hello to Kiki and Levi for me.
I will. Thank you.
Our second graduate is Miss Rosa Batista. So, Miss Batista, they are yours.
Hi, everyone. Where do I start? Okay, like Arlette, I was not born here. I was born in the Dominican Republic. I came here at the age of 6. I am the oldest of me and my brother. There's a 5-year difference. Most of my schooling has been in the Bronx. I was literally raised around Bronx community. So all my schools are very local. My place of employment have also been very local to Bronx community. Elementary, middle school, I was a great student. Come high school, and I realized I thought school was not for me. Did not do great. It was a struggle to even get to BCC. And I thought that I can continue doing the same things I did in high school at BCC. And it was a big shock, a big surprise when I started seeing that my actions had consequences, which resulted in me losing financial aid and me getting suspended from the school and so on and so on. So I did not just do BCC in 2 years. It actually took me 7 years to get my life together. During that time, I had 2 children. And after becoming a mom to 2 boys, I decided, you know what, I need to get my life together. So I finished Bronx Community College because of the poor choices I made. It was a hassle to even get to Lehman also. I remember having to beg, literally beg to get accepted. And someone took a chance on me, and I went on. I finished with my bachelor's. I majored in, what did I major on? In psychology for my bachelor's, because I did my associates in early childhood education at Bronx Community, and Lehman was not allowing me to major in education. So I majored in psychology with a minor in early childhood education, because by that time I already had it figured out that I wanted to be a teacher. Surprisingly, I finished the 2 years at Lehman with honors. And I had applied right away to start my master's program. But this wonderful opportunity came up, and I got accepted to go into a program that paid for my master's. So I joined that right after. I did a 2-year master's in early childhood education at Lehman in a year, really. I took all the certification exams and finished all my schooling in a year with the highest honors. So Professor Powers doesn't tell me later on that I forgot about that. I did that, and then throughout this whole time, I was working at a daycare right down the block from Bronx Community College. I stood there. I started there while I was in high school working as a receptionist. I moved on to become an assistant teacher at a daycare. Then I went back to the office as an administrative assistant. While I was doing my master's, I became a pre-K teacher, still at the daycare. Once I finished my first master's, I went on to work at a charter school. I helped my best friend open up a charter school. So I did a year there teaching kindergarten. While there, I got pregnant with my 3rd child. I finished a second master's in school leadership. From there, I went to the DOE. So that's where I'm currently at. I am a Board of Education second grade teacher right across the street from Bronx Community College, actually. And I am also licensed as a school administrator. So eventually that's the goal for me, either open up my own school or become a assistant principal or principal of a school already established. So that's that. Did I forget anything?
Nope, that was very well done too.
Okay.
I would now like to turn it over to one of my colleagues at BCC, Professor Tanya Johnson. Professor Johnson.
Hi everyone. I'm not going to go back into my my education career because it's so many years ago. But I will share that I was a New York City Department of Education teacher and principal. And I've also worked with children on the spectrum of autism doing ABA. And now that's one of the programs that we're incorporating in our program at BCC is behavior technicians. So at the moment we have a cohort that is working with a BCBA, which is a board certified behavior analyst. And she's facilitating workshops for the students 6 hours a week for students that are now already working in the classroom in the Department of Education, and they're looking for the students, the paraprofessionals, to be trained with behavior technician background or ABA, or able to really deal with the children that's on the spectrum or have developmental disabilities. And another opportunity that it offers our students is a different career path. So a lot of times we hear that the students are like, oh, I don't want to teach, I don't want to be in the classroom. And they think that teaching is just being in the classroom. So being a behavior technician opens up different doors and opportunities for them to not just be a teacher in the classroom, but they can also be, they can also go on to become a behavior analyst. And it's a career that's really popular now. For the last 6 years, they have really looked at paraprofessionals as becoming behavior therapists. And they work with children ages 2 to 21 years old. The salary ranges, as you can see, is $33,000, $46,000 if it's a registered behavior technician. And then they go on and get their bachelor's degree. And if they want to go on to become a board certified therapist, then they go for their master's. But it's definitely a field that's lucrative right now in education. We have a lot of children that have been diagnosed with autism. There's not enough support in the classroom. There's not enough training in the classroom. So they're looking at behavior therapists and training current paraprofessionals to become behavior therapists so that they can facilitate the correct modifications in the behaviors that children exhibit. And they can service in the home, they can service on the weekends, they can service in the evenings. Parents can also use their health insurance to get these services for their children, as well as the district, or the district can also qualify them for additional services at home for the children. So behavior therapist is just another career path for children in education, or students in education. And I just want you guys to know that it's not just about teaching in the classroom. There's a lot more opportunities in being a teacher. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Johnson. Mr. Cruz, your turn, sir.
Hey guys, first of all, good afternoon. Just gonna go down a list of things based that I want to say. First of all, I came from a small middle school in the Bronx, PSMS 15, graduating class around 50 students, and then I went from a school of 50 students of a graduating class to DeWitt Clinton High School of a freshman class of 2,000 students. So it was changes of worlds and like worlds apart when it came to like one-on-one instruction. But my time in Clinton is what really made me want to become a teacher, because a lot of the teachers there sucked. and they did not want to like take that time to like really work with me. And I was like, I want to be in the classroom and work with people and students that want to succeed. So I took my time, and even though it was a very long time, I applied to BCC, and they say BCC is a 2-year program, but not everybody has the time to be full-time. Or I personally was not healthy. I like dislocated my shoulder for a bit. I had some stomach issues. I was a walking emergency room. And many of the times, like apparently my body likes to like break down around finals time. So I would usually show up around finals with like a cast or a sling, or like, you know, just not in the best of shape. So it did not take me 2 years to finish off at BCC, as everybody would in 2 years. It took me, I think, around 4.5, maybe 5 years. But during that time frame, you know, I knew that I met Mr. Powers, and I wanted to master my craft at teaching. So I worked with after school programs. I became a teaching assistant at a private school. I did different jobs throughout the DOE. I was even a para for a year to see how that side of the world worked. And once I got my life together, because getting your life together in college is different. You want to have a job to pay your bills. You want to like maybe go to the gym. You want to schedule some time to study. It took me some time to like understand the difference between in high school. You just show up and everything's kind of just structured for you. Like, here's your classes, what you need to graduate, and that's it. When you get to college, it's more like, all right, here's your curriculum. You have to get these classes done. And maybe you meet somebody like Professor Powers to help you along the way. But for that first like 1.5 years at BCC, I was kind of like a deer in headlights. I was like, ¿Qué yo voy a hacer? Now, what am I doing? And it did not help that my health and my really dumb actions of hurting myself, doing the most basic things in life, like going to a water park and hurting myself, would distract me from school. Because if you dislocate something ever, or you like break something, it takes some time to heal. So once I got my life together and I built up a schedule, so I didn't like school in the morning, so I scheduled all my classes for like the nighttime. I don't know how many of you guys in high school show up to your 8 a.m. class and you're like, okay, we're gonna try to get a calm 65 in here. It's 8 a.m. I can't wake up. Not that you should ever get 65s, but when you get to college and stuff, you really want to see what type of student you are. If you're like really focused on the math and your arts, then go towards what you want to master. Because if you're planning to be a teacher, you want to master your craft. Every so often, I'm an 8th grade English teacher in the Bronx. Every so often, my kids will throw me a question from, I have no idea where they get this from, but I'm already prepared for that. You have to prepare for the unprepared, for like something you can't prepare for, and I'm always ready for it. So once you go into like the educational field, you want to make sure you master your craft. If you're going to be a math teacher, make sure that you can multiply. You don't want to be a math teacher that takes them a second to like, I don't know, 4x4, just give me a second, bring out a calculator. You want to be good at your craft. If you're going to be an English teacher, you know your rhyme, your stanza, your simile, what's a active verb or passive verb. You want to be sure that you're knowing what, like you go into it knowing what you're going to teach. And if you're really going to work with kids, you kind of got to like them. You can't say I'm working with kids because the salary is nice and summers are off. No, you kind of got to like them because they will come in with all that energy you see on the 4 train at 5 p.m. at 8 a.m. in the morning. And if you're stressed out with them at 4 p.m. when you already had like a great day, you're not going to be able to handle them at 8 a.m. And some of you guys are in high school and you're annoyed already by your classmates. And like, if you're annoyed by your classmates walking through the hallway, I walk with them all day, all year. They email me when they should be sleeping at 1 a.m. It drives me insane, but I love them. Those are my babies. You gotta like what you do, take some time. And I didn't take the traditional route of like, you go to school for 4 years, then you go to your master's, and then you look for a job. As soon as I got to Lehman, I graduated in about 1.5 years. I took summer classes, I took winter classes. Like I was out. Like I needed to get a job. I don't come from like parents who have like the most money in the world. So I was like, I'm here. I got my life together. I finally know how to study because my goodness, the importance of understanding like being in a library and just ignoring the world and not going on Instagram for about 1.5 hours or 2 hours is the best thing that you can do for yourself. TikTok will distract you forever and like it will bring down your grades one way or another. Don't get me wrong. My students email me like the funniest TikToks of all time, but still, you got to manage your time better. And then, so I finished Lehman in about 1.5 years. I took like 3 winter courses, 4 summer courses. I was a full-time student, and basically I had no life for a year. And yeah, it made me look for jobs that would fit around my schedule too, because, you know, I gotta eat, gotta have a job. Then I applied for a teaching fellowship program, which they train you for a summer. You train for a summer for like 60 days. And they're like, all right, you can become a teacher, and then you just go and become a teacher. But during that time frame, you are a teacher, and you're also going to grad school for teaching. So when I was in grad school, which I finished my master's this past spring, you're working from 8 a.m. to like 4, because on some days you have professional development days, but on most days you get out like around 2:30, 3 o'clock. And then you would go to grad school from like 5 to like 8:30 and 9. But don't worry, it's worth it. If you love your job and you love your kids, grad school is going to be a piece of cake. I did not even worry about it once I got there. BCC is like a great school to help you get on path to what you need to do. And then Lehman is a school that you specialize in what you want to do. I focus just on English. I took a mother load of English classes every semester. I took around 6 classes every semester, and it was really a really great, enjoyable part. College can be fun if you know how to manage your time and you like what you're reading, because if you're in a class, you're like, I'm going to be an English teacher, but every time you get a book to read in the class, you want to sort of like die inside. Maybe you want to change into like math or arts or science. Change your path, but most importantly, when you go into college, sort of like when you go into high school, follow what you love, which is always going to make you have the right choices.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. And the fourth of our 4 presenters, certainly, you know, last, but well, maybe least, I don't know. Mr. Jose Martinez. Jose?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. How you doing? I hope everybody's doing well. I want to start off by saying the transition for me, middle school to high school, it wasn't that big. I say the biggest transition was coming out of high school. You know, it's kind of like that time, you know, you turn 18, you're getting that, like what Elias said, you get out that structure of 8 to 2:30, 8 to 3 o'clock, you know, you get out of that rhythm of the day. So now it's a big transition of time management and kind of knowing what you want to do with your life. So when I graduated from high school, I went upstate to school. I went to another school. I didn't go to BCC right away. I ended up failing out of that school, and that's when I ended up at BCC. I ran into Professor Powers. He was like kind of my mentor for those 2 years I was there. I did, at first, I started off, I wanted to be a criminal justice major. Running into Professor Powers, I kind of spoke to him, and, you know, through, I guess, my BCC experience, I decided I wanted to be a teacher. And my time at BCC was kind of like my turning point in life. You know, I was in a program, it was NYC Men Teach. They offered various jobs, internships, paid internships. I was an ambassador there for NYC Men Teach. I also, I did a paid internship for the summer. It was like one of the first cohorts. And I got paid $2,500 for it. So it's definitely a lot of opportunities, not only at BCC, but there's plenty of opportunities at 2-year colleges, 4-year colleges, scholarships, various things you can do as a high school student. You just have to look into all that stuff now. Make sure you kind of have an idea of what you want to do and where you want to go with your life. So when I graduated from BCC, I went to Hunter College, and now my major is history, adolescent education and history. So I want to be a history teacher. I'm about to graduate. I need 2 more semesters to graduate, and yeah, that's my story.
Okay. Thank you, Jose. And just in passing, all of these folks who I have met, Professor Johnson kind of came across them. For this presentation, we decided to use students who were fairly well along in their careers, or in Jose's case, right at the edge of beginning a career. He starts student teaching next semester. And we want to kind of see where you can end up. But as Professor Johnson spoke about, and as I think Elias and Jose and Rosa all spoke about. They have worked jobs that are education related, paraprofessional, summer internship, daycare, administration. All of them have worked jobs and Arlette has other opportunities that I don't know if she spoke about, but in the education field, gaining experience and finding out, yeah, this is what I want to do. There are a lot of young men and women who say, oh, I'm going to be a teacher. And then they find out, I think Elias said, you have to like kids. Well, if you find out you don't like kids, that doesn't mean you're out of the education field, but it does mean you're going to change from potentially being up in front of a classroom and teaching. And a lot of people, I will say more of the guys than the women, say, oh, I want to be a gym teacher because I like sports. And the reality is there are not a lot of gym teachers. And the reality is you get to meet and really impact the lives of students apart from a gym class. Gym teachers have 60 students at a time in a classroom. They have 2 classes at once, usually. Sometimes there are 2 teachers and you'll have 90 or 100 kids in a gym class. You're not teaching sports. You're not teaching physical education. You're providing, to a degree, a daycare service. So I don't want to knock gym teachers. I'm not going to knock art teachers or music teachers or any profession. If it is, as I think all of them made really clear, if it's what you want to do, if it's what you love, then it's going to be good. And finally, teacher's salary, before we flip it open to questions. Once you achieve your bachelor's and you start with the New York City Department of Education, you have a total of 5 years to get your master's. You got to get it started within the first 2. But you start out with a base pay of $57,000. With a master's degree, if you started, you'd start out with a base pay of $65,000. And after 20 years at the New York City Board of Ed, and for those of you who are currently 18 years old, 19 years old, 17 years old, presume, as predicted, it would be somewhere in around 6 years, 7 years that you would have the master's and be on your way. After 20 years, you're at 106,000, and that would put you roughly at the age of 45. And as all of the presenters mentioned, it's not always a smooth trip. It is not 18 out of high school, 2 years BCC, 2 years out of 4-year college, 2-year master's, boom, and I'm done. Life can get in the way. Right? Like Professor Johnson, my career started back in the dark ages when dinosaurs roamed the earth. And I started as a junior high school, a middle school teacher. And I progressed into the administrative side of running programming for 5 years for a not-for-profit. And then I became a principal, and then I became an elementary school principal, became an assistant principal at a high school. And every 5 years or so, I would change jobs until I got to BCC, where I found what I really like to do, and that is to teach at the college level. And everybody will take their time to get to wherever they are going and settle into their career. But you can have several different careers in the field of education. So with all that said, thank you. And questions, if you would like.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Hi, how are you? My name is Jasmine Cruz. I just have a question. I'm trying to register for classes on January 28th, but it says that it's closed, like when I try to register.
Are you
Okay.
a new student? Is this your first semester coming to BCC?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and you've been accepted to the college?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. So you'll have to register with an academic advisor, and we're going to be inviting you for a registration appointment after you've committed to the college or accepted the offer of admission. I'm actually going to review those steps in just a minute or so, but you will receive an invitation to schedule an appointment with an advisor and register for your classes. You won't be able to just register on your own in Cuny first. You have to be advised your first semester.
Okay, because they did send me an email, like, for me to like to start, like to click it and to register, but when I click it, it says it's closed.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
if you want, you can send me your CUNY ID number in the chat. I'll send
Okay.
a note over to you as well in case you don't find me right away. But we can look into your individual account.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem.
Okay.
I do have a question.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes, I actually have a question. So, I already did the, like, I just have to register for classes, but the thing is, every time when I try to register for classes to pick my advisor, like to speak with an advisor, it tells me that I have another meeting open. So I was wondering, how can I, like, proceed with, because I was supposed to go last semester also, but something happened last semester with my family, so I had to, like, I couldn't do that semester, and they told me to defer my semester for the spring, and I did it, but now it's saying that I have to delete the other meeting that I had in July, but I'm not sure how to do that.
Yeah, we can help you with that in admission. So again, if you know your 8-digit CUNY ID number, you can send it directly to me, Anisha, or Natalie in the chat, and we can look into that for you. If you don't have it on hand now, you can always send us an email to our admission inbox with information or with your full name and date of birth and what you need help with, and we can definitely help you with that.
Okay, thank you so much.
I'll have one of us will put our admission email in the chat. This way everyone can have it. And if there's other admissions questions, I'll get to those in just a second. I have a small kind of just follow up with next steps about admissions, but if you have any specific questions for Dr. Powers or any of the other professors or students or alum here, feel free to ask those now. I do have a question actually in the chat from a student. You did, I think, go over this a little bit before in the beginning of your presentation, but maybe just some more clarity on it. One of the questions is, could you tell the difference between childhood education and liberal arts and science with early childhood education option? And if you're looking to work as a teacher or teacher assistant, which major would be the best choice?
The answer is yes. There's, for you guys who are coming in starting in January or, September or the following January, the program that we are recommending is the AS program, wherein you take a total of 8 education courses. To, for example, own and operate your own daycare in New York City, you need 5 early childhood education courses on your college transcript. So this program provides that and more. All of the credits from the AA, which has 4 courses, and the AS, which has 8 courses, all of them transfer to the senior college. So all 60 credits, presuming you graduate from BCC, guaranteed to transfer. And again, it's going to be a little bit more of a conversation. This is a general answer to a very solid question, but it's a general answer because until, let's say, Professor Johnson or I sit down with you and say, okay, what is it you really want to do? And you say, well, I really want to be a teacher. Boom. And I want to be an early childhood teacher. I want to teach kindergarten or pre-kindergarten. Then we can begin to say, okay, so these are your options. What is your financial status? So well, I need to have a job. I need to go to work. I need to make money. I need. Well, Professor Johnson and I may advise, well, consider a career as a paraprofessional in the Department of Education. It pays well. You get medical benefits. If you have family, that matters. You can earn years of service. And when you become a teacher, those years count on the salary step scale. It may be that you're interested in special education. So Professor Johnson, I may defer to her and say, why don't you talk to Professor Johnson? And Professor Johnson may say, consider behavioral therapy, becoming a registered behavior therapist or behavior therapist. Work this part-time, pick up experience in the field to determine what area of special needs you really want to work in. So there's a bunch of options. As you get to the college and begin to get more experience and, find a path. We have several people who start out saying, I want to work with the little children. And then they decide, no, I want to work with the older kids. I started out as a middle school teacher. I became an elementary principal, and I went back to the high school as an assistant principal, and now I teach adults. So it's going to be for each person. The answer is going to be a little bit different. And as you progress in your career, as you heard from our students, you're going to make changes. You're going to make decisions. For example, Jose came in and was interested in criminal justice. And when he decided to go to education, I said, why are you doing that? Like, is that what you really want to do? Elias was not an education major at BCC. So each person is going to be a little bit different, and everyone is going to have their own journey and their own path. Professor Johnson, anything to add or?
No, I think you covered it.
Thank you. Any of the graduates want to chime in, or we good and we can go next question?
Okay.
Okay.
A couple of questions in the chat just about how classes are being offered this next semester for the spring, if they're fully online or in person online. So for this spring, for the most part, classes are going to be offered fully online. About 95% of classes will be fully online. There may be a few that have lab requirements that might be offered on campus, but for the most part, all online. As we continue to receive more information from New York State, and Cuny will make decisions about the fall semester and the summer semesters, but those decisions have not been made yet. But for now, you can assume that your spring courses will be offered online. Any other questions for the education department and program? As you're thinking about that, I will just start to share my screen and go over some of the admission questions that we are getting in the chat. For the most part, it seems that many of you have already been accepted. So I'll go over the ready to apply section fairly quickly and get right into those accepted student questions. But for those that have not submitted an application to BCC yet and are interested in applying for this coming spring or even next fall, these are the steps that you'll want to follow. It's essentially just completing your online application through the Cuny website and paying your application fee, which is $65 for freshman students or $70 for transfer students. If you are currently a student at a New York City high school, your guidance counselor may have a fee waiver for you, so you should certainly inquire about this. And by applying through the Cuny application, you can apply to multiple colleges, up to 6. So if you're interested in BCC, just make sure to put us down on your application. If you already applied to Cuny but did not add BCC, you can use that admission email that we've posted a couple times in the chat and just let us know that you're interested in having your application applied for BCC. And then you'll just need to make sure you submit your official documents to us. If you've applied to multiple Cuny colleges, you'll want to submit it to Cuny's Application Processing Center. Anisha will share some of those links in the chat for you if you need them. And if you've only applied to BCC, you can have your official transcripts and documents sent electronically to our admissions email, which is listed right here. Just some helpful tips, whether you've started the application or you are already accepted. Regardless, you should be checking your email daily. Most of the communication that you're going to get from us will be through your email. We'll be reminding you of important dates and deadlines, and this is the best way to stay on top of things. You can also track your application online through your Cuny First account just by logging in. And you can review the status of your application if you've been accepted. You can also review financial aid information here and any outstanding items on your to-do list. You also want to make sure that you apply for financial aid right away. This is through FAFSA and TAP, which is both federal aid and New York State aid. If you have not already started the application for financial aid, there's a link here. We can also share some of that in the chat for you. If you're applying for the spring 21 semester, which is that next upcoming semester, you'll want to fill out the 2020-2021 application. I'll say that one more time because that can be confusing. For spring 21 semester, if you're doing the FAFSA, make sure you complete the 2020-2021 application. You can also complete the 2021-2022 application. That's for next fall. So you might as well just complete both to get kind of everything done and to make sure that you're putting yourself in for the most potential aid that you might be eligible for. Just kind of to sum this up for you, why we encourage everyone to apply for financial aid. Most of our students here at BCC are covered by financial aid. About 9 in 10 students graduate with completely no debt at all. And that's largely due to being eligible for financial aid in the form of grants. And you'll see if you're eligible for the maximum amount of these grants, you can potentially receive a little bit over $11,000 per year, which is way more than the cost of tuition here at BCC. So if you see, you can do the math here yourself. You can potentially have over $6,000 left over for other school-related expenses like books, a laptop, things like that. So it's very important to make sure that your financial aid application is completed. If you have questions about financial aid, we do also host financial aid workshops, and you'll certainly be invited to those. You can also connect with our financial aid office through the financial aid virtual counter, where you can speak with somebody live over Zoom on Tuesdays and Fridays, and we'll add that in the chat for you as well. Lastly, after you're accepted, you want to make sure you tell us that you want to attend BCC, and you'll do that by accepting the offer of admission. You can do this through your Cuny First account or by emailing us at this email address here. And you should do this right away, especially if it's for this coming spring. You'll want to tell us that you do plan to come to BCC so we can follow up with you on the next steps for registration. And then finally, you'll be registering for classes. So those are a couple of the questions that we've gotten today in the chat and that you've asked out loud. After you've told us you want to attend BCC and you've been accepted, the next thing you'll get from us is an email with details on instructions on how to schedule that appointment. You'll be meeting with an academic advisor via video chat or by phone if you prefer. And you'll be able to review your major, go over any questions you have about that, select your course schedule for the semester, explore options about new student orientation, and also find out how to claim your loaner laptop if you need a device or a laptop for the semester. So very important to make sure you're looking at your email to schedule those appointments. For those of you that know you're ready for this step and feel like you haven't gotten this email yet or are having some trouble with it, again, you can let us know, either myself, Anisha, or Natalie in the chat. You can send us your Cuny ID numbers, and we're happy to take a look into that. If you've already sent it, Natalie and Anisha are helping me out and helping to schedule you for registration appointments if you're eligible. So for many of you, it sounds like that might be your next step. And that's pretty much it from admissions. Our contact information is here. If you do need that, feel free to take a screenshot of this. There's also other ways you can schedule appointments with us. We have a live Q&A session just with admissions counselors tomorrow. If you feel like you have a lot of detailed follow-up questions that we can't get to today, you can feel free to join us or schedule an individual appointment that works best for you. But I will open it up for more questions now. Feel free to take advantage of the wonderful reps that we have here from our education major. They are a wealth of information and can certainly answer any questions that you have about the program or major. And we have a couple more minutes left, so I'll turn it over to you guys, and please ask us any questions.
I would, if I could, Ms. Levy. One of the guests asked if the college provides an English class. And I'm not quite sure of the question, but I'll give two answers. English is a required set of courses within your associate's degree. And if you're talking about becoming proficient or more proficient in English, there are two different programs that are very, very similar. CLIP, which is the language immersion program for Cuny, and Cuny Start, which is kind of a bridging the gap between, let's say, graduating high school but not yet being prepared for college due to a lack of fluency in reading and writing English or in mathematics or in all of those. And that is done prior to becoming a full-time Cuny student. I don't know if that answers the question, but if you need more information, just rephrase it in the chat and feel free to ask more.
Great, thank you. Other questions? We have a couple more minutes this evening. So feel free to ask away.
Yeah, hello, my name is Carmen.
Hello, Carmen.
And hi, and I did my high school in Mexico, and I already did the I went to translate the paper, the translation, and already they're gonna send it to the school by mail, they told me. So how do I know if you already have the paper or that?
So you said you had your transcripts translated and sent. Was it sent specifically to Bronx Community College?
I have one address. I think it was like, I don't remember what day, but I talked with you on Friday to ask all that related with all that, and they gave me an address. It says Brooklyn.
Yeah, great. That's the right place. So it will need to be sent directly to the CUNY's Application Processing Center once the translation's been complete. So it sounds like you followed the correct instructions. It may take some time for CUNY to receive it since it's coming by mail, and then they'll have to review it. But once you can monitor your application and the documents on your CUNY First account, so Natalie just posted that in the chat as well. And if you go to your student center, you'll see that your document's been, if it's received and in the process of being evaluated. So generally that process can take like 2 weeks or so to have done. But we'll also can put in the email for the CUNY Welcome Center, since they will be the ones reviewing your documents. And you can feel free to follow up with them, you know, just to check on that status and see if they've received it or not. But it sounds like you've followed the right steps.
Yeah, and I also filled the FAFSA application. Well, there, but I put the year 2021, 2022. I didn't know, so I can apply also for 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's okay. You just are ahead of yourself, and now you already have next year's application done for FAFSA. But you'll want to go back in and also fill out the 2020, 2021 application. This way we can consider you for aid for the spring.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
No problem. And please check the chat if you haven't been following along. Anisha and Natalie have been posting some really helpful links to the FAFSA tab and all sorts of information of resources for you. All of this is on our website as well, but it's all in one place for you here today. So feel free to copy and paste it somewhere if you want to look at it another day. But we are just past 5 o'clock. So if there is another question, we can take like 1 or 2 more. But if not, we will certainly be in touch with you by email. But feel free to ask any last minute questions.
Yes, hello.
Yes.
Yes, hi. I have a question. I know that we already talked about it, but I just want to make sure. I applied for FAFSA 2021 and 2022, but I have to do 2022 and 2021.
So you might as well do it since you're in the mood for FAFSA right now. The application is available and you might as well complete it sooner rather than later. So that application 2021, 2022 is for the fall semester. So by completing that early, you'll be kind of ahead of the game and you'll be able to receive information about what aid you're eligible for this, the next semester for fall. But the most
Okay.
important application to complete now is that 2020, 2021 application, because that is for spring.
Okay, and that's in January, right? Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, anything else?
Yes. Again, me, Carmen.
Sure.
Well, in my application, I applied to study biotechnology science, but I have seen that people have worked being biotechnology engineer. How is that possible? I mean, how can I do that? Or can you explain me a little bit about that?
So we can actually connect with you next week. We are going to be hosting another event like this for Zoom into your majors for the sciences. That's going to be covering biology, chemistry, biotechnology. So if you're interested in connecting with the professors there and other students, you should certainly attend that event. This event today is mostly focused on the education programs and majors that we have here, and any sort of admissions questions. But we can connect with you, offline if you're not able to attend next week's event. But next week we'll be highlighting the sciences.
It will be also on Thursday and the same hour.
Same hour, same time. It's on our website on the Visit Us page. Natalie or Nisha, could you just share that in the chat? So if you're interested, you can just sign up for the next event.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, well, we are over 5 o'clock now. So I just want to thank our presenters so much for joining us today and for sharing all the information that they have with us. And thank you to all of you for joining the event. And please feel free to stay in touch with us after today if you do have any questions, whether it's about this major in particular or any questions that you have about your application status. Please feel free to stay in touch with us. Natalie shared some information about other events that we have coming up. You're welcome to schedule a one-on-one appointment with an admissions counselor if you need to ask more questions about your application in the future, or just contact us by email or phone, and we're happy to help you out.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Okay.
Thank you all. Thank you all to the presenters, and we shall talk. Professor Johnson, have a good evening. Thank you. Ms. Levy, Ms. Gill, and we will talk soon. Bye.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.